Now, for the opening of Aboriginal ceremony, Dakota Elliott and Wes Elliott. Thank you.
So you go. These are the words that come before all other words. And I ask that all men who have anything on their head to please remove it, please. Now.
Ne ona gantoni ganja gora suvarmasia ste vakle payande kwe ne indwali kwadi hentos ngwa disos ngwa ne gano kolodiso ne yo wezo skana to anatonia ne kadi ne to walke I nyale askai de wayo ne ngwani ko askaji de wadi denu halada sech kadi na do hake ne ngwani ko ne ona indwa troli ne johunjadi ne wahi jungula sitika salagwe ne johunjadi teni sa dai chinolodin ko.
I want to do a brief translation so you understand fully what has been said. These are the words that come before all words, that come before any talk, any social, any council, and we end with that. It's our connection also to all of creation. It's also a connection to our spirituality, Native Haudenosaunee spirituality, because we've been doing this for thousands of years. Translation of the Thanksgiving address. Greetings to the natural world. Today we have gathered and we see the cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So now we bring our minds together as one, as we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. Now our minds are one. The Earth Mother. We are thankful to our Mother.
I am going to read a copy of, or letter, actually the original of a letter which has been sent by the City of Toronto, some representatives, I shall read their names. A letter to President Barack Obama. Dear President Obama, we, the undersigned, as the elected members of Toronto City Council in Canada's largest city, respectfully ask that you use the constitutional authority to order the release of the Cuban Five so that they can be reunited with their families in Cuba without delay. Since 1998, these 5 men have been imprisoned in the United States for peacefully defending and protecting the lives of not only the people of Cuba, but also the people of the United States and hundreds of thousands of Canadians and people of other nationalities who visit Cuba as tourists. The Cuban Five sought to prevent new politically motivated terrorist attacks against Cuba in the wake of decades of such actions by extremist groups in Miami and the southern Florida that have caused more than 3,000 Cuban deaths and many severe injuries. And now, I declare the court in...
People's tribunals have been convened around the world as a tool for the people to review cases where there is a widespread concern that the established judicial process has failed. The case of the Cuban Five emerges. Number 2, the arrest, the trial and conviction of the 5. Number 3, what has happened since the conviction and sentencing of the 5. To hear this evidence, the tribunal's organizing subcommittee has selected 13 individuals from the United States.
Magistrate of Constance, Cindy Sheehan, please stand, was born in Inglewood, California, is an American anti-war activist whose son, U.S. Army Specialist Casey Sheehan, was killed by Army action during the Iraq War. She attracted national and international media attention in August 2005 for her extended anti-war protest at a makeshift camp outside President Bush's Texas ranch. Thank you. Magistrate of Constance, Chris Levan, has worked as a journalist, university president, and as a United Church minister. Reverend Levan currently has family in Cuba and visits regularly teaching and volunteering church, seminary, and seminary work in Cuba. Thank you. Magistrate of Conscience, Denis Levelin. Originally from Chicoutimi, Quebec, He is the national president of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. He has also been responsible for human rights issues and childcare and has been involved in the union's international work, particularly around Cuba and Colombia. Magistrate of Conscience Juan Carranza is a lawyer and founder of the law firm Carranza. He is a governor of the Centennial College, member of the board of directors of the William Osler Health Center, and current president of the Hispanic Development Council. He is the lead magistrate of conscience for this tribunal. Magistrate of Conscience Ken Newman was born and raised in rural Saskatchewan. He is the National Director for Canada for the United Steelworkers Union. Throughout Ken's life, he has fought hard to make equality, justice, and prosperity a reality in Canada. Magistrate of Conscience Mary Claire Walker is the Vice President of the Canadian Labour Congress. She is the first woman of color to hold office in the CLC. She was raised in the Caribbean and has lived in Canada for the past 31 years. Magistrado de Conciencia Miguel Barnet is Cuban and currently the Vice President of the International Scientific Committee of the Slave Root Program. He is the recipient of numerous honors, including the Distinction for National Culture, the Felix Varela First Degree Order, the highest distinction of Cuban culture, and the Garcia Lorca Literary Award from Andalusia, Spain. Magistrate of Conscience Naveen Mehta is the General Counsel to one of Canada's largest private sector unions, the United Food and Commercial Workers. He has been active in a variety of legal labor and human rights-based organizations, including the International Bar Association, the Canadian Association of Labor Lawyers. Magistrate of Conscience Saul Landau is a scholar, author, commentator, and filmmaker who has produced over 40 films, winning numerous awards. Among these, the Bernardo Higgins Award for Human Rights, the Laetitia Moffat Human Rights Award, and the Golden Apple Award. Magistrate of Conscience Tony Woodley is the executive officer for the Union, Britain and Ireland's largest trade union with 1.5 million members. As Britain's spokesperson of the campaign for the Cuban Five, representing all trade unions in Britain, 7 million members. He has organized and led international delegations of senior trade unionists from the US and Canada to Cuba. Magistrate of Conscience Wes Elliott is a Tuscarora from the Six Nations of the Grand River. He is a well-known Native activist and speaker who is also one of the young brothers sitting with those who carry the burden of the peace of men's fires of the Grand River. Magistrate of Conscience William Sloan. Born in Montreal, Quebec, he is a lawyer specializing in refugee and immigration law, a founding member of the Canadian branch of the American Association of Jurists and its president since 1984. He has personally attended several of the court proceedings involving the Cuban Five.
Instead of fulfilling Jose Marti's dream of a Cuba with all and for all, the island was reduced to a neo-colony of the United States. Under this overbearing control, wealth flowed out of Cuba into the United States, while poverty, corruption, and oppression multiplied on the island. This all ended with the triumph of the Cuban Revolution in 1959. With the rupture of the neo-colonial relationship, the revolution put the Cuban nation firmly in the hands of the people of Cuba.
The first ever collection of testimonials from ordinary Cubans who have been victims of more than 600 acts of terrorism directed against the revolution. Mr. Bollender is a freelance journalist living in Toronto and has written extensively on Cuban matters for a variety of North American publications.
Good morning. I'd like to thank everyone for being here, those in attendance, the jurors, the Cuban ambassador, and especially the wives and the family of the Cuban Five. It's an honor for me to be the first witness at this very important tribunal. My name is Keith Bollender, and I am here to bear witness against the United States government for its long history of terrorism against the Cuban Revolution and its people.
The next witness I'm going to call is Raimundo Navarro Fernandez. He's a family doctor and a trade union leader in Cuba, serving as General Secretary of the National Health Workers Union until 2006, and has since then as a member of the CTC National Secretariat. He is also a deputy at the National Assembly of the People's Power, that is the Cuban Parliament. Please welcome Raimundo Navarro. Unfortunately, we only have about 5 minutes for every witness.
Buenos días. Después que nací, 48 años, siendo un joven cubano, viendo morir hermanos, viendo los desastres que se cometen con mi país, en 5 minutos resumir los actos terroristas que se han cometido con nuestro país es muy difícil, pero haremos un esfuerzo.
Today, since I was born 48 years ago, having seen all the disasters that were created against our people in that time, it's very difficult to summarize in 5 minutes.
Del tribunal, magistrados, familiares de los 5, Livio, hermano de Fabio Di Sherman. Es un honor poder participar en este evento de denuncia por los actos terroristas ejecutados contra mi país desde el triunfo de la Revolución Cubana. El tribunal constituido a estos efectos escuchará, estudiará y analizará los argumentos que se presenten aquí con pruebas palpables de todos los daños y perjuicios causados a mi pueblo por parte del gobierno de los Estados Unidos.
Head table sisters and brothers of the trade union organization sponsoring this event, magistrates, members of the jury, family members of the 5 present here, friends of Cuba. It is a great honor for me to participate in this event, denouncing the terrorist actions that have been carried out against my country since the triumph of the Cuban Revolution. The tribunal called to this end will hear, study, and analyze the arguments and tangible evidence presented here, outlining all the loss and damage wrought on my people by the government of the United States.